Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are in the world, this beautiful earth. Hey, I'm your host, Joseph Daniel Pena. Welcome to my channel, 509 Divine Pines. In my description below, we got my link tree with all my links. Check out my IG, which I post cannabis and pics of memes. Sorry, I'm watching over here on some on the side. All right, yeah, all right. I got cannabis pics and memes on the Instagram, and I got donations below. I got all my links. I got other socials. Just check it out. All right, man. Let me go ahead and get to the news because, man, the news is, whoo, man. I really needed to discuss some things with you. So, from CNBC, Soror says civilization may not survive Putin's war in Ukraine, warns of global depression. Soror said he founded the prospect of irreversible climate change particularly frightening. Well, I mean, they created it and now they're calling it frightening. Wow. Yeah, that's what they do. They create the boogeyman and they call out the boogeyman. The financier, born in Hungary to a Jewish family that survived the Nazi occupation, emigrated to Britain and later to the United States. Soros funds liberal charities and non-governmental organizations worldwide through his Open Society foundations and famously bet against the British pound back in 1992. You see that evil man? Look at that reptilian. Liberal billionaire Soros, they warned of a global depression and said Russia's invasion of Ukraine could be looked back on as the starting point of World War III. At his annual dinner amid the World Economic Forum, Soros said the course of history had changed dramatically since the last Davos, Switzerland event. Russia invaded Ukraine. This has shaken Europe to its core because all their fucking piss parties are there and all their schemes are there. All of it's getting taken over. I guess freed. How about freed? Not taken over. We'll just say freed. The European Union was established to prevent such a thing from happening. Even when the fighting stops, as it eventually must, the situation will never revert to the status quo ante. Indeed, the Russian invasion may turn out to be the beginning of World War III, and our civilization may not survive it. Soros said that other issues that concern humanity, such as pandemics, climate change, and avoiding nuclear war, have had to take a back seat. That's why I say our civilization may not survive, he later added. Soros, born in Hungary to a Jewish family that survived the Nazi occupation, emigrated to Britain and later the United States. The financier funds liberal charities and non-government. I don't know why it repeated that. Yet the experts tell us that we have already fallen far behind and the climate change is on the verge of becoming irreversible. And that could be the end of our civilization. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is widely seen as putting a planned energy transition at a crossroads. Gas and oil prices have surged, and world energy markets have been severely destabilized. Coal has increased as Western nations desperately seek alternatives to Russian hydrocarbons. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said the Kremlin's assault on Ukraine will likely have major implications for global heating targets. Guterres described this short-sighted rush to fossil fuels as madness before warning that humanity's addiction to fossil fuels is mutually assured destruction. Soros said that he founded the prospect of irreversible climate change to be particularly frightening because they created it and they wanted it to be particularly frightening. Most of us accept the idea that we must eventually die, but we take it for granted that our civilization will survive. Well, you see, for them, how he said most of us accept that we must eventually die. Yeah, because most of them are actually regenerating their lives over and over, implanting their consciousness into another person's body, getting brain implants, body implants, um, doing all sorts of transhumanist things to keep themselves living. And some of them even freezing themselves to be woken up in a couple thousand years. You know, So while they create methods for us to die, they're just living. Therefore, we must mobilize all our resources to bring the war to an end early. The best and perhaps only way to preserve our civilization is to defeat Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's the bottom line, he added. China COVID policy. Soros also took aim at Beijing, which is experiencing its worst COVID-19 outbreak since early 2020. Earlier in May, Chinese President Xi Jinping headed to a meeting of top leaders that emphasized the country should stick to its dynamic zero COVID policy and warned that economic consequences could follow if it doesn't. The officials called on the country to unify behind the decisions of the Chinese Communist Party central committees and resolutely fight against all questioning of virus control policies. State media said the continuing lockdowns have had disastrous consequences, pushing the Chinese economy into a free fall since March. Soror said in his speech Tuesday, citing a Kayaxin Composite Purchasing Managers Index, Soror said that China's steeply declining economic activity is bound to have global consequences. These negative results will continue to gather momentum until Xi reverses course. Coming on top of the real estate crisis, the damage will be so great that it will affect the global economy with the disruption of supply chains. Global inflation is liable to turn into global depression, he said. Last week, Goldman Sachs became the latest bank to cut its forecast for China's GDP to 4% from 4.5% after data for April showed a slump in growth as COVID-19 controls restricted business activity. And who's that? The people who rent you out like buildings and rent you out houses. Oh man. Well, fuck, I totally forgot the name of it. It's like DoorDash, but you can rent a room. Anyways, those dudes pulled out of China too. So a lot of people are pulling out of China, and a lot of businesses crashing there because they don't want to deal with that crap anymore. Honestly, we're fed up, like in the world, and we don't want to deal with all that nonsense. You know, we all know that. That's all. That's all very apparent. And if you're not with that side of reality, then you're just gonna get lost. And honestly, by the time, really gonna be too late for you if you continue on that route. I mean, you see all the people who were for Clinton and for the vaccines and for Obama. A lot of these dudes are actually, suffering now. So it's just the way it goes. All right, next article. Tiny axles and rotors made of protein could drive molecular research proteins that self-assemble into tiny for use in molecular engines. Okay, just think about this. They're saying a working engine, or let's just say a type of motor or a type of moving part or an engine, whatever we want to call it, a moving mechanism that is powered by proteins. Like they're literally creating little mini robots. Like, so we know about the graphene oxide and that being able to be used in ways that almost mimic robots. Ways. Let's go ahead and read this article. Oh, if it will. Hey. Oh, really? Oh, let me just read. Can read the self-assembling axles and rotors made of specially designed proteins have been created entirely from scratch. We are starting very simply, says Alexis Corbett at the University of Washington in Seattle. This is actually trading here in UW. Protein could do a quick link update on this. Protein, tiny axles, and rotors. There's a lot of, and this is not just to, all right, at topping out at 316 miles per hour. We have a Richland who I guess discovered muons, or like have actually proven that muons exist, which is something like a proton and electron, but it's something else, whatever it is. Now we have tiny axles and rotors made of protein driving molecular machines out of UW. There's a lot of stuff coming out of Washington in the last couple years that's absolutely beautiful. I love it here, man. 509 Divine Pines. This is why we're right here. Ooh, this is why I call it divine. The first components of a molecular engine, self-assembling axles and rotors made of specially designed proteins, have been created entirely from scratch. We are starting very simply, says Alexis Corbett at the University of Washington in Seattle. But as he and his team create more parts, it will become possible to combine them into ever more sophisticated nanomachines, he said. You hear that? There could really be an incredible number of applications, says David Baker, a team member also at the University of Washington. For instance, nanomachines might one day be used to unclog arteries or to repair damaged cells. Now, let's just say in a reverse form, they could also be used to clog arteries and to damage cells. Anyways, there are already countless molecular machines on Earth. Living organisms are essentially made of protein machines, including innumerable forms of rotary engines, such as the tail or flagellum of some bacteria. But because these existing machines have been optimized by evolution for specific purposes, it is hard to adapt them for other tasks, says Baker. What we found is that if you go back to the start and try designing everything from first principles, you can get much, much farther. So as we play with CRISPR and genes and literally the fabric of life, our technology is just going to skyrocket. So be prepared just to see like everything, from space, nearly like space. Really going to have space level technology. To achieve this, Corbett, Baker, and their colleagues designed new proteins unlike any found in nature. Proteins are chains of amino acids. Natural proteins are made of around 20 different amino acids. And this sequence of amino acids in a chain determines the structure of the protein. Predicting what shape a given sequence will fold into has a major challenge for biologists for decades. But recently, there have been huge advances thanks to deep learning software. Corbett designed several different versions of axles and rotors using a suite of software called Rosetta, developed by Baker's group. This suite includes Rosetta Fold, which is similar to the AlphaFold system developed by the UK-based AI company DeepMind, which I'll probably do another talk about later sometime eventually. That's interesting. Yeah, the DeepMind is very, very fascinating. What they're able to do with AIs these days is incredible. The team made the machine parts by putting DNA coding for the custom proteins into E. coli bacteria and then checked their structure using a method called cryogenic electron microscopy. This showed that the axles assembled correctly inside the rotors, but also revealed the different configurations that would be expected if the axle turning. But because cryogenic electron microscopy can only provide a series of stills rather than a moving picture, the team can't say for sure if the axles are rotating. If they are, it would only be a random back and forth movement driven by molecules knocking into each other, a phenomenon called Brownian motion. The team is now designing more components to drive the motion in one direction and create a rotary engine, says Baker. I am blown away, says John Molt at the University of Maryland. As far as I am aware, it's the first time anyone has come close to designing a protein machine. Groups including bakers have designed novel single proteins before, says Molt, but not such complex assemblages. I am very impressed with the structural detail with which the Baker Group has built this protein rotary assembly, says Pierre Stolmer at the Technical in the University of Munich in Germany. I'll be waiting eagerly to see how the group will implement an NG output to the system to drive the motion in one direction. Stolmer was part of a team that last year unveiled a piston made of DNA. And two other groups have also created moving machines made of DNA. I will say, though, that the de novo protein design field is catching up rapidly and might overtake the DNA field soon. Both DNA and protein-based machines could end up being used soon, says Stomer. In my view, designing proteins and other molecules that do things is going to be a major industry that will have major effects on our lives, says Molt. It is not quite there yet. Better washing powders accepted. So that's pretty cool, am I right? Now they're gonna be able to like heal people with, small protein created engines, and yeah, they're just gonna be able to target certain ailments or certain things in the body very precisely. And that could be good or bad, but like that just depends on us, I guess, and them. All right. All right. So next, we got the World Economic Forum panelists bragging about the development of carbon footprint. Oh shit! So the whole time, well, I read from a link here. Let me just pull it up. Oh, that whole time I didn't even read. I didn't even show you guys the link. There, here's just the link, just so you guys can see it, about the tiny axles and rotors made of protein. Yeah, so the World Economic Forum, continuing on after this, was just bragging about carbon footprint tracking identity systems. Like, all right, carbon footprint identity tracking systems. So that means they're going to be able to track everything that you do, eat, watch, and how healthy your body is, and that will determine your carbon footprint. And let's just say that they're going to use a social credit system, right? Where we know that Ukraine is in the social credit system and China is doing the social credit system where everything that you do is tied to your dollars in your bank and how much access you have to certain stores. Like literally, dude, if you don't have a certain level of social credit, you can't enter a certain store in certain countries because you're not good enough. You're not a good little slave or good little citizen. Here we go. World Economic Forum panelist brags about the carbon footprint tracker to monitor your travel, diet, and spending habits. Oh my God, dude. These dudes are really trying to fuck with us, aren't they? Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? Asks Alibaba President J. Michael Evans at Davos meeting. Alibaba Group President J. Michael Evans boasted about developing a carbon footprint tracker that would monitor your travel, what you buy, and what you eat. During the World Economic Forum annual Davos summit on Tuesday, Evans explained in a careful worded way that his company is currently working on a device that would allow consumers to monitor their own carbon footprint, and not just you monitoring it, them monitoring it, and not just them monitoring it, them controlling your life and your family's life and your friends' lives and the future with it. We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. But what does that mean? Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? Evans said. Alibaba Group President J. Michael Evans boasted at the World Economic Forum about the development of an individual carbon footprint tracker to monitor what you buy, what you eat, where, how you travel. So, individual carbon footprint trackers, stay tuned. We don't have it operational just yet, but this is something we're working on. What Evans fails to explain is why consumers would need to monitor their own traveling and dietary and spending habits when they already know where and how they're traveling, what they're eating and spending their money on. Like, honestly, bro, I know what I'm eating. Why do I need a little tool, electronic, to help me tell me what I'm eating? No, it's not really to tell me, it's to tell the rest of the world and all these black projects. What's more likely is this development technology would collect this personal data, not for the consumer's use, but for his company or respective governments. Measuring people's carbon footprint goes hand in hand with the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda, which aims to deindustrialize the West in the name of saving the Earth. The idea of monitoring spending habit also runs in tandem with the World Economic Forum's plan to introduce a central bank digital currency in which all transactions will be monitored, documented, and ultimately controlled. In the clip below, French Central Bank President François Villeroy de Galhau and Credit Suisse President Axel Lehmann excitedly discussed the digital currency scheme at the Davos summit on Monday. A CNN anchor, the chairman of Credit Suisse and France's top central banker, giddily discusses the arrival of the central bank digital currencies within 5 years of the World Economic Forum in Davos. Here, let's see if it plays.
Fast forward 5 years. Do we have a central bank digital coin out there in the world
that is being utilized on
a daily basis,
whether it's wholesale
or retail,
and it becomes a superior system
as well.
Yes or no?
We have several experiments which are not very far from that.
They are not yet generalized.
It will go quicker on the wholesale side, I guess, because it raises less sensitive questions.
Yes.
Oh, I'm glad to hear what you're saying, François, on the wholesale digital coins. I am also a believer that will come in 5 years. Yes. What I try to say is obviously, we still have those huge legacy environment. They need to migrate as well, so we will not yet see all the benefits coming through. But it will come and will be much more efficient. They're also probably much more secure. Lowering transaction costs on the retail for the established economies.
Well, you see that these dudes have agendas and have plans, and it's not really for us. You see, not sure why they don't like us, but they just want to control us, and it's pretty messed up. I agree. It's also in the World Economic Forum's interest to monitor the carbon footprint of the people as the middle class experience economic pain as the West is gradually forced off fossil fuel. Speaking about small and medium businesses in Davos, Norwegian finance CEO Kristian Braten says energy transition will create energy source shortages and inflationary pressures, but this pain is worth it. Oh, she loves anal. She loves it. Oh, sorry. Let me just go ahead and play this for you. Oh, it's not playing. They don't want to play this one. All right. Okay, man. So technical difficulties. They do not like when I talk about the World Economic Forum, and understandably so. These dudes are fucking Nazi Marxists. They run a lot of operations. They control a lot of corporations. They infiltrate a lot of companies and places around the world, whether it's online or in real life. And kind of they're linked, you know. So yeah, man, Chad Smith. I know, dude. This is ridiculous, right? So continuing on to my next article, guys. Look, you will go to naturalnews.com and you will find this article. Conspiracy question mark. Ex-cop killed in Buffalo shooting had just invented a powerful water-powered engine. Aaron Salter Jr., a security guard at the Tops Friendly Market store in Buffalo, who was killed in a recent mass shooting, had reportedly just patented a new type of vehicle engine that runs on water instead of gasoline. Describing his invention as a newly discovered energy source, Salter, just prior to his death, had been working on and speaking publicly about environmentally sustainable vehicles that have the potential to replace existing ones that rely on either internal combustion gas or battery powered electric engines. Salter's LinkedIn profile revealed that one of his main passions in life was coming with a free energy transportation solution. In a YouTube video, he demonstrated how his 2010 Ford F-150 truck operated using a AWS hydrogen fuel system, which is based on water. So we're going to do 4 experiments today for our patent examiners, Salter, an ex-cop said in a video while proudly displaying his Police Benevolent Association shirt. Whew. What my system has done to take advantage of the residue that's produced by elect how do they electrolysis. There we go, electrolysis. He further explained. So we're going to actually start this vehicle without electrolysis. I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. Salter's video is still available for viewing on YouTube below. Now I will play the video so you guys can hear it in the background. You know what? I can do this.
See all of this. Got your hydrogen for your electrolysis. Got your batteries, your water. I want you to notice that you can get a shot of the showers. There's no water in okay. Tank is empty. All right, let's put this back on. We're gonna need water in a minute. This is a agitator. So we're gonna do 4 experiments today for the patent examiners. The first one, you do need electrolysis, but what my system has done is taken advantage of the residue that's produced by the electrolysis. So we're gonna actually start this vehicle without any electrolysis. The second one, we're going to fill the water tank with water, and again, we're going to be able to start it without electrolysis and run this engine. How long, we'll find out. Then we're going to turn the hydrogen generator on, and we're going to let that produce some gas, and then we're going to see how long the engine runs with the hydrogen only. And then the fourth one, we're going to use the combination of the hydrogen generator, the agitator, and we're going to see how long it runs together. Okay? So, first thing we're going to do, we're going to start the engine up on gas first. and I'm going to initiate the agitator, and then we're going to go to the front, and we're going to switch the gas, hydrogen gas on, and the regular fuel off. Okay?
I'm going to pause for a second. Go ahead.
So, all right, I'm just gonna start it.
That sounds dope. Not even gonna lie, that is just fun. Nice.
Okay. Now I'm gonna turn on the hydrogen, and then I'm gonna turn off gas. Gas is in an off position, and it's running on no electrolysis. So it's running on a hydrogen. It's running on hydrogen right now. Shut the gas. The gas is in the shut off position right there. Gas is in the shut off position. Somebody gotta watch. Time is okay. So we're just gonna see how long it's again, there's no electrolysis. Okay, now it's not running off of gas fuel. No, there's no gas here. No gas here. Okay, so I started the, I mean, it's been running for a little bit, but I started the timer right now. Okay. So what we have here is the gas valve. The gas valve is shut off. That's the gas valve in the rear. It's in off position. The vehicle is running on pure hydrogen. That's the extra alternator. Fuel air intake. This is a valve for the hydrogen to engage. We go out to the back of the vehicle and get some information from Mr. Salt. Okay, so running for how long? It's been running for a minute and 17 seconds. I would say it was running for 30 seconds prior, so that's with no water. It's running on pure residue. We suspect hydrogen residue. Is that the agitator?
is still running. We're going to see if the vehicle is still running. The vehicle is still running pretty smooth. And investigate. Let's go and do that hose right here. This excess water. I was going down. It's like, it's just, no, I mean, it's like, it's going smooth down here. Sorry to die out here. Okay. I will put all right. Some water. Well, I hear it though. You see. Is that hot? No, it's not hot. That's still amazing. That's I can hear your agitator going crazy. Now we're putting the water. I can't hear what it's not coming from over here, it's coming from over there. Nothing's leaking there. I just want to make sure we don't have no leaks.
So as you can see, this man, Aaron Seltzer, had created a hydrogen-powered vehicle. Now that's not easy, dude. Like, to think about how to create a free energy device is pretty mind-blowing, and then actually doing it is on a whole nother level. And you know, he's been doing this for a while. Continuing on. Back in 2016, Seltzer uploaded a post to Facebook explaining his position at AWS Hydrogen Technologies, LLC. It modestly read that Seltzer was excited to have started this company, believing that it is fully possible to power vehicles with water. Hey, remember my article from about a couple months ago, 2 months ago, about helium fusion energy? All the world's governments are actually working on water-powered fusion technology from deuterium, and that's what he used. I believe I can change the way we power our cars, boats, generators, and it comes from water. He wrote, calling the technology rehydrated hydrogen, which is fucking crazy. Hydrogen, like, I don't get it. I will figure it out, but that'll be later. And we can get one step closer to helping our planet rid itself of these dangerous hydrocarbons that are damaging our ozone and causing global warming to our planet. In other words, not only is the technology clean, running on abundant and virtually free water, but it also helps shape to clean the air and pollutants that already exist. Talk about a win-win situation. It is because of this technology discovery that some believe Salter's ultimately death be suspicious. Was he targeted by the industries that stand to lose should Salter's invention have gone mainstream? It turns out that Salter is hardly the first person to mysteriously die not long after discovering and unveiling a new system that runs on water rather than fossil fuels or electricity. Stanley Meyer had also come up with the water-powered motor technology right before he suddenly and strangely died while dining at a Denny's restaurant with two Belgian investors. Meyer started choking during the meal, ran outside, and claimed he had been poisoned just before he had died. Oh, wow. And here is another video.
Okay, it never wears out because there's no moving parts.
In the top of our news here at 6 o'clock, an age-old dream becoming a reality. A local inventor has discovered a way, hear this, to use water to run your car.
It's a major breakthrough that will no doubt make motorists happy. And as Ralph Robinson explains, the Pentagon is also showing lots of interest in this project.
Water has always been considered a precious commodity, but Stan Meyer's invention may make it even more valuable. He has developed what's called a water fuel cell. It has taken the place of his old gas tank. The water fuel cell breaks down water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen. The hydrogen is used to run his dune buggy.
I don't care if you use rainwater, well water, city water, ocean water. If you don't have any fresh water, go ahead and snow. If you don't have any snow available to you, then use salt water because there's no adverse effect to the fuel cell.
Meyer started working on this project 4 years ago. He's not a scientist. He isn't even a chemist. In fact, he never graduated from college. Myers was determined, he says, to design something to protect this country from oil embargoes.
And we've calculated that if we take the dune buggy from Los Angeles to New York, we would roughly use 22 gallons of water.
The Pentagon flew a lieutenant colonel in last week to look at Meyer's invention. There's talk of possibly using it in the Star Wars defense program and to run army tanks. Myers is currently perfecting a water fuel cell for cars. It will cost about $1,500. He says it won't need any maintenance and you won't have to replace it. It'll be at least 2 years before the fuel system goes into mass production. The day it happens will be one the fuel industry hates, but it'll put a smile on the face of those who had to say at one time or another, fill her up.
There is an enormous range of new things that have been worked up to a remarkable level in the past and then suppressed by the existing order for one reason or another. Either they're incompatible with classical ideas, or they upset strong financial interests, or whatever it may be. In the past, great things have been done by gifted humans. They are, in a sense, the vehicles of God Almighty in bringing this stuff into the world. And none of it has ever reached public use and public currency because of this dictatorship of the knowledge systems of the world. Video, and in particular
projects like this one we're on now, they reveal that you can do to these ancient, seemingly ancient discoveries what was not possible or feasible 50 years ago. It was simply beyond technical capabilities, and the means of distributing what you discovered were all in the wrong hands. Nowadays, the internet has put all that to bed. You can't do that anymore. You know, humanity is going to have information no matter what. So I see in the things that I know about and have been personally involved with a great horizon for producing an endless series of productions like this that will bring this stuff out of the limbo where they've been shoved and into the full light of day, where some of the bright young people who are now on the earth can make them into blessings for mankind.
That's a little history lesson for anybody who didn't know about Stanley Meyer, and that these hydrogen-powered cars and vehicles do exist commonly out in the world. Oh, upside down. Some now believe that Salter's biggest mistake was filing for a patent on this technology. It was not long after this occurred that he turned up dead in a mass shooting. If you figure out a way to beat the oil companies, you have to open source it to the world and never apply for a patent, said Impaired Infinity, because they will crush you and bury your patent somehow. In the comment section at the news pump, someone added that he recalls a story where they murdered hundreds on a ship called the Titanic in order to kill 3 men who were in the way of creating the Federal Reserve. That is true. That's honestly true. If you know about why the Titanic went down, it wasn't because there was ice. No, dude, like, nah, man, there was some very rich people in America at the time. One was named Astor. I forgot the rest of the names that they wanted to kill, because these dudes were in the way of the Federal Reserve and would not take the bullshit. Up next, we got the World Economic Forum. Again, these dudes are all up in the news these days because they're really fucking up the world, man. Alright, so I believe this year or last year, the World Economic Forum had a simulation for a cyber attack. And, well, let's just say that they don't really plan for things that they don't know is coming or they're not going to create. So they're trying to create a cyber attack, and then now they're planning for it. It seems like, there we go. Man, they were trying to hide the links for sure. World Economic Forum warns of cyber attack that will collapse existing financial system. A report published last year by the World Economic Forum Carnegie Cyber Policy Initiative calls for the merging of Wall Street banks, their regulators, and intelligence agencies as necessary to confront an alleged imminent cyber attack that will collapse the existing financial system. In November 2020, the World Economic Forum and Carnegie Endowment for International Peace co-produced a report that warned that the global financial system was increasingly vulnerable to cyber attacks. Advisors to the group that produced the report included representatives from the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the International Monetary Fund, Wall Street giants like JP Morgan Chase, and Silicon Valley behemoths like Amazon. The ominous report was published just months after the World Economic Forum had conducted a simulation of that very event, a cyber attack that brings the global financial system to its knees. In partnership with Russia's largest bank, which is due to jumpstart that country's economic digital transformation with the launch of its own central backed digital currency. More recently, last Tuesday, the largest information sharing organization of the financial industry, whose known members include Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup, have again warned that nation state hackers and cyber criminals were poised to work together to attack the global financial system in the short term. The CEO of this organization, known as the Financial Services Information Sharing and Analysis Center, had previously advised that the World Economic Forum Carnegie report had warned much the same. Not a question of if, but when. The Cyber Policies Initiative November 2020 report is officially filed international strategy to better protect the financial system. It begins by noting that the global financial system, like many other systems, is going through unprecedented digital transformation, which is being accelerated by the coronavirus pandemic. Reducing fragmentation, merging banks with the regulators and intelligence agencies. Given the inevitability of this destruction event predicted by the report's authors, it is important to focus on the solutions proposed by the World Economic Forum Carnegie report, that they will become immediately relevant if this event, as predicted by the World Economic Forum and Carnegie Endowment, does come to pass. Some of the solutions proposed are to be expected from a World Economic Forum policy document, as the calls for increased public-private partnerships and greater coordination among regional and international organizations, as well as increased coordination between national governments. However, the main solution at the heart of this report, and also at the heart of the World Economic Forum Carnegie initiatives, others endeavor, is a call to use corporate banks, the financial authorities that essentially oversee them, tech companies, and the national security state. This requires countries not only to better organize themselves domestically, but also to strengthen international cooperation to defend against, investigate, prosecute, and ideally prevent future attacks. This implies that the financial sector and financial authorities must regularly intersect with law enforcement and other national security agencies in unprecedented ways, both domestically and internationally. Well, that's that, man. You know, like this is really kicking off, man. These dudes are really doing these things, and it's just rolling over every law. More citizens wake up and you know eat their shit, I guess. Like not literally, but man, like fuck, dude, like we're in a pandemic because of them. All right, from last year to this year, what the fuck happened, man? All right, so last year, hear me out. Last year, the Pentagon was planning on Russian help in case of an alien invasion. The military plans for all kinds of contingencies. Russia may not have a plan in case for aliens land, but the Pentagon has at least considered it. Here's what you need to remember. Scientists concur that the Earth's first contact with aliens' life is likely to come in form of robotic space program detecting evidence on Mars, Enceladus, Europe, or some other distant body. Well, that's just the writer's note. I personally don't believe that. In an odd episode in 2013, a Russian space official admitted unprovoked that Moscow has no strategy for combating an invasion by galactic marauders. Luckily for planet Earth, the United States does have a plan, and it counts on Russia and America fighting together. Sergei Bereznoy, on the staff of the T-12 Space Control Center near Moscow, said the Russian air defense officers have not been tasked with preparing for the contingency of an alien attack, according to RIA Novosti. There are enough problems on Earth and in near-Earth space. Interesting that they use that term, in near-Earth space, not outer space, but near-Earth space. A team of scientists from America's NASA Planetary Science Division disagreed. While humanity has not yet observed any extraterrestrial intelligence, contact with the ETI remains possible. Seth Baum, Jacob Haqmisra, and Sean Domalog Goldman wrote in a 2011 paper. The scientists conceded that extraterrestrials could be friendly or ambivalent, but we can't be sure. Contact with uncooperative extraterrestrial intelligences seem likely to be harmful to humanity. To be clear, scientists concur that Earth's first contact with alien life is likely to come in the form of a robotic space probe detecting evidence of microbes on Mars, Enceladus, Europe, or some other distant body. The Pentagon isn't taking any chances. If one of U.S. military instructors is to be believed, Professor Paul Springer, a history teacher at the U.S. Air Command and Staff College in Alabama, told the Australian TV program in 2012 that Washington has plans for even the least likely military threats, including attacks from beyond the solar system. We make all kinds of contingency and war plans. But America's interstellar war plan is surely pretty thin. After all, the Pentagon wouldn't know anything about the attackers until the first laser bolt or disruptor blast or proton torpedo was fired and Earth's forces were already in retreat. In the event of an alien invasion, the first thing you would need to try to do is preserve your forces, Springer said. In other words, hide after that. Learn as much about the enemy as possible. Presumably with spy satellites, drones, electronic eavesdropper, and old-fashioned sneaking around. The aliens, meanwhile, would probably target Earth's communication network and its most potent weapon, nukes, Springer said. As the world's leading military powers, America and Russia would be the biggest targets and the leaders of the eventual counterattack. Combined, the two countries could field huge air, land, sea, and space forces numbering thousands of warplanes, millions of soldiers, hundreds of ships, and most of the world's spacecraft. Assuming Earth survives and wins, human society could be turned upside down, Springer said. Former rivals could become close allies, even unified. Keep in mind that many of the greatest civilizations in history formed to counter a common enemy. Plan or not, Russia is bound to join America on the front lines of the first alien war, according to Springer. So, America went from hypothetically teaming up with Russia to go to war with them over there in Ukraine. Woo! Now, you ask why the government is even asking that question. Well, here's an article from RT.com. NASA may provoke alien invasion, scientists warn. Oxford researchers are reportedly concerning that the U.S. agency's effort to communicate with extraterrestrials could be dangerous. Scientists at the UK Oxford University have reportedly sounded an alarm over the plans by NASA to broadcast location data and other information into space, warning that the effort could have dangerous unintended consequences, including triggering an alien invasion. Just like fucking Elon Musk sending all of our DNA up to space. At issue is planned Beacon in the Galaxy, a broadcast of data that NASA-led team of researchers with the aim of creating extraterrestrial intelligences. The U.S. Space Agency wants to beam the signal from the SETI Institute Alien Telescope Array in California and China's 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope. It would include such information as the biochemical composition of life on Earth and the solar system's timestamp position in the Milky Way, digitalized images of humans, and an invitation for extraterrestrial response. So there's a picture of the human, and here's a picture of the solar system. Anders Sandberg, a senior researcher at Oxford Future of Humanity Institute, argued that such a broadcast could be risky. In the unlikely event that an alien civilization receives a message, he said, the response might not just be a friendly greeting. The search for an alien life has a giggle factor around it. Sandberg told the UK's Telegraph newspaper in an article published on Sunday. Many people refuse to take anything related to it seriously, which is a shame because this is important stuff. Another FHI scientist of Oxford, Toby Ord, has suggested that there be public discussion before sending signals to aliens. Even listening for incoming messages could be dangerous, he added, as they could be used to entrap Earthlings. These dangers are small but poorly understood and not yet well managed. Ord insisted that there's no scientific consensus on the ratio of peaceful to hostile civilizations around the galaxy, given the downside could be just much bigger than upside. This doesn't sound like a good situation in which to take active steps towards conflict. Weaker signals have been broadcast into space in the past using earlier technologies such as the Arecibo message sent in 1974. Russian scientists did a series of such broadcasts called cosmic calls in 1999 and 2003. So that's, Russian did their broadcast right when we got that 9/11. Sandberg theorized the poor aliens might already be getting various messages sent for all sorts of reasons. Scientists with the BITG group have speculated an alien species that is sufficiently advanced to achieve communication through the cosmos would very likely have attained high levels of cooperation among themselves and thus will know the importance of peace and collaboration. Canadian futurist George Zavorsky dismissed that theory as an old trope, saying he can think of a host of scenarios in which extraterrestrials with malevolent tendencies continue to exist. So, our I guess our middle elites, like the people in the middle class, the middle higher class, not the elite, but the people who are kind of up there, they're worried about, what NASA's doing, and quite frankly, NASA's a bunch of bullshit. They're just fraud. You guys have a wonderful night. Hey, yeah, you guys having a wonderful night. Hope everybody's doing good. Shit, I guess. What NASA's doing, and Russian veteran groups call Putin's special military operation a failure and demand mobilization for full-blooded war. About 2 hours ago, pro-Russian meal bloggers and even Russian veterans have become more critical of the Kremlin following several major losses in Ukraine. A Russian veterans group is publicly calling for the Kremlin to declare war on Ukraine and to further mobilize the armed forces. An all-Russian officers' assembly called Russian President Vladimir Putin's special military operation in Ukraine a failure. The Ukraine's military devastating defeat of a large Russian force as it tried to cross a river in eastern Ukraine, along with other serious Russian losses, has sparked increasing criticism among pro-Russian bloggers, including a Russian veterans group that is now calling for Russian President Vladimir Putin to declare war on Ukraine and mobilize additional forces. The All-Russian Officers Assembly said in an online post on May 19th that Russia's special military operation in Ukraine has failed to achieve its goals and called on Putin to recognize that the invasion of Ukraine is no longer about denazifying the region, but about Russia's existence and position in the world order, according to the Institute for the Study of War, a Washington-based research company. The U.S. and other NATO countries have sent tens of thousands of weapons to Ukraine in recent weeks. The shipments include anti-armor and anti-aircraft missiles. The pro-Russian group said that this special military operation, as Putin called for a large-scale invasion of Ukraine, has been a failure and is over that Russia must ready for a full-blooded war. The failed attempt by the Russian military to cross the Seversky Donetsk River earlier this month might be one of the deadliest events of the war, according to the New York Times, with dozens of armored vehicles lost and more than 400 Russian soldiers estimated to have been killed or wounded. The Ukraine Defense Ministry shared images showing the aftermath of the fight, with numerous destroyed or disabled Russian tanks and other broken armored assets scattered about the battlefield. The All-Russian Officers Assembly critical post in the wake of the battle suggests news that the disaster and other Russian failures are breaking through the Kremlin's tightly controlled information bubble, and pro-Russian military bloggers are becoming more noticeably critical about the Kremlin. ISW said. Yuri Podolyaka, a war blogger with 2.1 million followers on Telegram, said in a video that he had been avoiding criticizing the Russian military, but after the failure of the Seversky Donetsk River crossing, his patience was overwhelmed. I emphasize because of stupidity on Russian command. At least one battalion tactical group was burned, possibly two. Yes, I understand it's possible for there to be no problems in war, but when the same problems go on for 3 months and nothing seems to be changing, then I personally, in fact, millions of citizens of the Russian Federation start to have questions for these leaders of the military operation. Similar criticisms have been appearing more frequently. More Russian supporters of the Kremlin and Russian invasion of Ukraine are beginning to criticize the Kremlin openly, and the organization reported on Monday. The commentary is widely reported by bloggers may fuel burgeoning doubts in Russia and Russia's aspects in this war and the competence of Russian military leaders. The Russian Veterans Group said the Kremlin should further mobilize all regions bordering NATO countries, including Ukraine, extend standard military service terms from 1 year to 2 years, establish wartime administrations in the separation of Donetsk, Luhansk People's Republics, and institute death penalty for Russian deserters. Sheesh. And institute So this was that article I had come across earlier. It says creating artificial macromolecular transport systems that can support the movement of molecules along defined routes is a key goal of nanotechnology. Here we report the bottom-up construction of a macromolecular transport system in which molecular pistons diffusively move through micrometer-long hollow filaments. These pistons can cover micrometer distances in fractions of seconds. We built the system using multi-layer DNA origami and analyzed the structures of the components using transmission electron microscopy. We studied the motion of the pistons along the tubes using singular molecule fluorescence microscopy and performed Langevin simulations to reveal details of the free energy surface that directs the motion of the pistons. The tubular transport system achieves diffusivities and displacement ranges known from natural molecular motors and realizes mobility improvements over 5 orders of magnitude compared to previous artificial random walker designs. Electric fields can also be employed to actively pull the pistons among the filaments, thereby realizing a nanoscale electric rail system. Our system presents a platform for artificial motors that are more autonomously driven by chemical fuels and for performing nanotribology studies, and it could form a basis for future molecular transportation networks. All right, guys. Hey, you guys have a wonderful day. I'm gonna head out now. I hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of news. Man, there's hardly anybody following, but look, dude, I hope you guys are sharing this and just thinking about these things. And I will be increasing the production quality of this podcast. Man, I just started. I've been having some anxiety when I kind of started doing some podcast episodes a month or two ago because, once you start coming out with this information, you start getting psychically attacked, and you start getting all these dark energies come from you, from like the 5Gs and shit. And pretty much the military-industrial complex starts attacking you through microwaves and shit, and frequencies and all that shit. Well, I had to go ahead and calm down, figure, get myself back on track, and I'm good now. Hey, I'll be doing this more. You guys have a wonderful day. God bless.